Hey everybody, we're back with some Procreate tips. This is Kristen from Simply Written Designs. We're here, like I said, to show you some tips on Procreate. I've got about 20 or 21 tips. It is a 20 tip list, but sometimes I come up with little ones along the way. So we'll see what kind of comes out of this. But if I give you a tip or trick that you've been looking for, let me know in the comments and let me know if it helped you. If not, let me know where you struggle. That way I can come back with another video and help you out a little bit more. Also in the comments of this video, let me know what kind of tips and tricks you guys want for Cricut Design Space. I do want to get on there and show you guys some more tips and tricks, but it'd be nice to know what exactly it is you're looking for to learn, which is nice and easy. So put those stuff down in the comments below and make sure you hit my subscribe button so that you can get notifications when I post new videos. All right, so we're gonna jump right on in and we're gonna start with our tips. And our first tip is super simple. You guys probably already know how to do this, but I'm just gonna cover all my bases here and make sure that I give you as many tips and tricks as I possibly can to make Procreate much more usable for you. So this one's just a typical color fill. Okay, so I'm gonna start with coloring. That was a struggle with English. I'm gonna start with coloring the whole background. Then we're gonna draw a shape and fill in the background there too. So first things first, I'm going to get out of the white color. I'm just gonna select a color off one of my pretty campfire palettes there. And to fill this whole page in, it's just going to be a drag and a drop. Really easy. And surprisingly enough, a tool that really comes in handy when you're trying to color in certain items. So the next is, say, a circle. And you can still do the same thing, color fill that way. So when you have the circle, you just want to make sure you're dragging and dropping inside the circle. Otherwise, if you do it on the outside, it'll color everything around it. So even if you want a negative space, you can do that as well. Instead of having to do a color fill the whole background and then color that in white, you can do it this way as well. And for anybody who doesn't know, a 2-finger tap on the screen deletes what you had done before. So it's a nice simple way, instead of having to come back over here, hit the back arrows, or come up here and delete and clear. My next little tip and trick is creating layers. I have gone over this in multiple videos, either on my Instagram, my TikTok, or I believe even in my YouTube, in my Procreate layering video with my liquifying as well. So you're gonna come up to this little option here. It looks like 2 pieces of paper kind of overlapping, which makes sense for layers. You're gonna select that. When this layer is highlighted blue, that means that's the layer you are working on, okay? To add a second layer, it's a nice little plus sign there. You're just gonna click that. So now that this is highlighted, it means I'm gonna be affecting this layer, not this one. Okay, it's just a simple tap to switch back and forth. And that is that. So now you can create multiple layers and then merge them later on, which I will show you how to do. And create one beautiful photo, design, anything you're trying to look to create. All right, our next tip is using the alpha lock option. So I'm gonna go back to black. I'm gonna make sure I'm on the brush I wanna use. And I'm just gonna write out the word hi because it's nice and easy. Okay, so for alpha lock, this is a nice way to kind of permanently change the color or design or anything of the words you've got on the paper. So what I'm gonna do is, I call it paper, you know what I mean. You're gonna come up here. We don't need this second layer, so I just deleted it. We're gonna click on that again, and we're gonna hit this alpha lock button. You can see it here, alpha lock. You can see how it goes into a grid. That shows that the alpha lock is on properly. And to show that how it works, I'm just going to select a color here. And we're going to switch our brush, because I use the untitled brush for when I'm filling stuff in. It's bigger, covers more surface area, saves me a bit more time. You're just going to brush over and see how it's only coloring in what is on that layer. So it's not going to color in the rest of the layer. It's not going to create a whole mess where I have to clipping mask it on, which I will show how to do that later. It's more of like a permanent kind of change. And then you turn the alpha lock off, and now it is one item. That's a really cool tool. I'm just gonna go back and delete all of it. Get the alpha lock off. Okay, so our next one is actually deleting, duplicating, or clearing options. So this is kind of perfect. So when you only have one layer, what you can do is you slide over. So you hold down and slide. You're gonna lock it so that that layer never moves. You can duplicate it, which creates a second layer of the exact same item, or you can delete. When it's back to being the only layer, it'll say clear instead of delete. And that's just gonna clear out the layer because you always have to at least have one layer on your piece of work there. Okay. So the next one we're gonna do is the clipping mask, kind of like what I said before. It's like the non-permanent version of the alpha lock. So again, we're just gonna write the word hi. My writing's gonna get sloppier and sloppier the more we go through the video, but that's okay. So for clipping mask, you do need a second layer, okay? So you're gonna go up here like I showed before, hit that plus sign. Now you have a second layer. So let's just, we're gonna do it with some random colors. So when I'm coloring, I always, like I said, go to that untitled brush. It covers more space. We're gonna pick some fun colors. We're just gonna do that and this. And then when you're ready to clipping mask it, you come back to your layers. You're gonna double tap the one that you just drew your color on, and you're going to hit clipping mask. So it's a few down from alpha lock. You're gonna hit the clipping mask. It's now brought it onto the words, but you can see it's still 2 layers, okay? Which means if I don't like how this turned out, I can delete it and go back to that one layer and not have a problem. The next one is a shadow effect. So I'm actually gonna clear this out. We're gonna change the color of the background because I want you guys to see this a little bit better. So we'll go to like a really light blue. And we're gonna we're going to go on this layer. We're gonna write out in white. We'll use the word hi again. We're gonna duplicate it like I showed you in that previous option, okay? We're gonna go to duplicate. I'm gonna come to this bottom layer because I want this to be behind that top white layer. Now we're gonna go to the wand. You're gonna see here at the top, there's hue, saturation, and brightness. You're gonna select that. I do layer. Again, you wanna make sure you're on the right layer, okay? So we're gonna come back here, hue, saturation, brightness, layer. I'm gonna take this brightness and bring it all the way down to none. You'll see here, it changes it to black. Then what you're going to do is go back to that wand, and you're gonna come to motion blur. And I do layer, and you just slide. See, if you come over, it really motion blurs it. If you control it, it creates a really cool shadow behind the word there. So it's a little different than what I do for my TikTok names, but because what I do with my TikTok names, I will show you later on. I think, let me double check my writing here. I show you the Liquify tool. I'm not showing you the back shadow. So if you want to see how I do it for my TikTok names, go and check out my previous YouTube video and it will show you there. So our next step now is merging the layers. So what we see currently is that these layers are both separate. So I can come here and move this wherever I want to. If I want to merge them together, there's 2 ways you can do this. You can either use your fingers and pinch, hold down, pinch, and squeeze, and it joins them together. If you don't have good coordination with your fingers, I'm gonna go backwards and unmerge those. You can also hold down, drag, hover over top. It creates a new group here. So now, if I want to move them together, I highlight this new group, select, and they move together. So now they're merged together. Another tip here, if you really want them merged without having these separate, because here I can still manipulate separately. If I don't want to manipulate separately, I want them to manipulate together, you can either just move here or you can double tap and you can hit flatten. And it really becomes one layer. There's no separate layers. And we're going to go backwards. There we go. So now it's no longer flattened. And then this is the next tip, and it's actually changing your layer groups. So see how here it says new group? What you can do is if you tap that, you can rename it. So you can name it anything you want. So let's say we name it high. That didn't even work. Look at that. So we'll just type it in. Okay, and now it's done. So if you're doing a piece of artwork where you want to have multiple layers that you can affect, you can name them so it's easier to find them on your list. So it's a nice and easy little, whatchamacallit? My brain just stopped working. It's a nice and easy tool. There we go. Struggling. Okay, so our next one is we're actually going to start talking about our selection tool. And we are going to do that with what we've got going on here. And I'll show you the multiple ways it's actually going to work out perfectly, already having them kind of grouped together. So when it's grouped together and I have the layer or the group selected, not an individual layer, when you use this selection tool, you can select individual items and move it around. Okay. You can, I'll go backwards to where it's supposed to be. There we go. You can also come down here, and if you want to only manipulate this top white layer, same thing, just draw around. Use your little arrow tool, and you're only going to move around that white piece now. And then, yeah. My next tip number 10, is actually the double tap for going backwards. So I always do it when my pen is in my hand, so it looks kind of confusing, but I'm using these two fingers and I double tap. So now it's brought me back to the selection tool, and I tap again, it's going back even further. And it just keeps going backwards. You're not going to be able to see a whole, now it's going to start showing the changes. There. Okay, so next we're going to show you the Gaussian blur. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but we'll go to white. You only need one layer for this one, and because I'm going to use colors, I'm going back to my untitled brush. Okay, I have my untitled brush up all the way. It covers more surface area. So now we're just going to pick some fun, cute colors to create an ombre with. We'll start with some green in the corner. I'm going to slowly transition over into these peaches. It's actually a very nice color palette right now. Okay, so now that I've got the colors that I want on the canvas, on the layer, I'm going to go back up to this wand. There's right here this second grouping where there's the motion and perspective blur. There's also a Gaussian blur. We're going to select that. I hit layer and you drag until you're happy with the blur. So I actually really like it like that. And then what's done? So you're just going to unselect the wand, and now you have a permanent ombre background. Nice and simple. And now we are going to go to hiding some layers. So we're going to have a second layer. I am going to write the word hi. Make sure I have my calligraphy pencil. Okay, so now for example, I've got these two layers, okay? Remember how I showed you before, if I want to check that, I won't have a background layer, okay? I'm going to turn that off just so I can show you guys how this tool works. And when I say hiding layers, we are dealing with these little check marks off to the side of the layers. See there? Okay, so say for example, I only want to see the background, but I don't want to delete my word. I'm just going to check that off. So you'll see it's still here. I still have the ability to add it back, but it's no longer on my art canvas. Okay, and vice versa. Now it's back, I can take out that background and just have the words, and on a different layer I can create a different background, and you can pop back and forth between the two, see which ones you prefer. This is actually a really great tool for me when it comes to designing my decals for my tumblers. I use this tool quite often because then I can see what different style of writing works with each decal, and it really makes a big difference for me. Now we're going to go into the Smudge Brush, which is directly beside the brush setting. So it's this one right here. You can have the opacity up or down. The lower the opacity, the less smudging you're going to get. So let's, I'm going to merge these two layers to see, and you can just start smudging. I'm going to turn the opacity up. Let's make sure you have a good brush for this first, okay? So go back to the untitled brush. Go back to the smudge size of the brush, and you can smudge. That's with the opacity up quite high. When you turn the opacity down, you're not smudging as much. So you guys can't really probably see, but when it's here, it's really barely smudging. You bring the opacity up, it's gonna smudge a bit more and kind of blend things in. So it's really good when you're creating pieces of art. So see how the color changes as I'm smudging? Now I'm gonna bring this darker layer up with the smudge brush. I find this is a really cool effect if I'm trying to create a piece of art, which personally I don't do a whole lot of, just because I'm a calligrapher, a hand lettering artist, however you want to look at it. So I don't create a whole lot of art on Procreate, but it is a fantastic tip and trick. Then we are going to do some eraser tips. So I'm actually going to unmerge these layers. So I'm gonna have to go backwards a bit. Give me a break here. Okay, so they're unmerged now. So I am going to hide my lettering. We are going to go, let's pick a fun brush. Let's pick this monoline outline brush. So now that I'm drawing in it, silly goose. Okay, so we're gonna come onto this layer and draw on it. Okay, so it gives you a double-lined monoline brush. If, for example, you want to erase into this instead of writing with white, and you want to use this brush, hold down on the eraser, it pops up a thing saying erasing with current brush selection. So now, instead of being on the brush tool, I'm on the eraser tool, and I am erasing with that brush. So the size is very low. So now I'm erasing with that, and it's showing you that there's no background behind it because it's a pure eraser. So say this was highlighted white with the background, it's going to come through as white. Say I had the background blue and I'm using the eraser, it's going to come through as blue because the background is blue. So that's a really cool tool as well if you don't want to have to constantly go back to selecting a color. It's a really good tool to use. I actually only recently learned that tool watching videos, probably over the last month. Yeah, I'd say about a month ago I learned it. Comes in really handy. Again, bad English, comes in handy, and I really enjoy it. So our next tool is the Liquify tool. I've shown you guys this one on my TikTok videos, and how we're just gonna delete these. We're gonna clear that out. And I show you guys how to liquify on my TikTok videos, yeah. So we're just gonna write out the word hi again in my typical calligraphy brush. Now everyone is gonna use a different brush. This is the one that I really like. I have been trying to play around with different brushes to try and get used to other ones. This is still hands down my favorite brush. Okay, so for liquifying, I am going to go onto a second layer, and I'm going to create a fun pattern in colors. So again, remember when I do my colors, I always switch to my untitled brush. This one's just gonna go over top, so I'm just kind of creating a fun pattern, nothing in particular. Let's try and throw in some of these bright colors too. Okay, so that looks good to me. Not that I'm trying to create anything beautiful, but we're gonna go over to the wand. Down here, you can see it says Liquify. We're gonna select that. Now you've got all these options popping up. These are the options that I use for my TikTok videos. This is the exact setup I use. I do not touch it. It's different than what will pop up a little bit, but not by much. So I use this push setting, and then the size is at 55, pressure's all the way up, distortion's at 12, and momentum's all the way down. Okay, so when I do this, I push and I drag. So I can create it by hand and be happy with my pulls, my drags, all that stuff. Okay, so you go backwards until it goes back. And now if you go to twirl right, you can hold down. It's all gonna twirl right. If you hit twirl left, same thing, but the opposite way. If you do pinch, it's all gonna just pinch together. If you do expand, it'll undo the pinch and kind of push everything out. Crystals. If you can, I don't know how much you can see it happening, but let me bring it up there. It's kind of crystallized that like middle portion here. Try it over here so you can see it happening. See how it's like crystallized the edges? Yeah. This one, I don't even know what this one. Okay, so it's kind of manipulating, not too much. But yeah, my favorite one's the push because I find it's much easier to manipulate and control, and I can kind of create everything I want to do with it that way. Okay, so that's the Liquify tool. And then if you want, in my TikTok videos, I just clipping mask, and that's how I do it. I duplicate this layer, come to this one, and drag backwards, and that's how I do my TikTok names. Okay, let's get rid of everything here. And we're gonna go to the drawing guide. So now we're gonna come up to this wrench. We're gonna go to canvas. You're gonna hit turn on drawing guide. And to show you all the different options, I'm going to hit edit drawing guide. So currently right now mine is all the way at white. I don't like it there. It needs to be at black. So last time I used it, I probably hit here instead of done. So the typical drawing guide is a square grid. Nice and simple. You can do isometric, where it changes the angles of everything. You can do perspective, which I believe gives you a vanishing point. Yeah, so I just tap there, it gives you a vanishing point. So then when you go to draw, everything will vanish into that point. And symmetry. I use this one for decals as well. So we're gonna keep that on. Hit done. And what I'll show you is, we're gonna bring this brush size down. It creates everything in a perfect symmetry in each little corner. So instead of having to repeat everything, it's already doing it for you. Yeah, okay, so then you're gonna go back to that edit draw, oh my goodness. You're gonna go back to the edit drawing guide. Okay, you're gonna come down to options. Now you're going to hit assisted drawing and make sure that's on, okay? But we're gonna go back to the 2D grid. Assisted drawing is on. We're gonna hit done. Now with the assisted drawing, doesn't matter what plane I'm drawing on or what angle, it's only gonna draw horizontal or vertical lines. And they're gonna be your perfect straight line. So you can see my brush is literally going all over the page and only perfect lines are being drawn. So very great tool for people like myself who are not great at drawing straight lines. I mean, there is another tool, like a tip and trick that you can use to draw straight lines. I find this a little bit easier because now there's also a guide to draw it on. I'm going to go back to edit drawing guide, turn off the assisted drawing, go back, and I'm actually going to turn off the drawing guide completely. Another good way to create a straight line, if you don't want to do that, is just draw your line and hold, and you can edit the shape that way. You can make it longer, shorter, put it on an angle, wherever you need. So that's another extra little tip for you. Next, we're going to add some text. We're going to go to the add option through the wrench. We're going to add text. So it's popping up text. Let's just write hello. So when it's highlighted, you can use your Apple Pencil, write the word, it will put it into the section. So now I've got the word, we're going to make it nice and big so you guys can see it a bit better. We have all of these options here. Okay, so you can freeform it. The uniform is what's typical. You use it, it's going to keep it all proportional and just move it in size. Freeform, you're going to move it, but you can move it and distort it however you like. Right? I'm going to go back to where it was. Distort, this one's fun. You can create fun little like dimension to it. I do this for some of my decals as well, depending on what I want my look to be. Go back to normal. Then the warp, this one's really fun. I tend to do this if I want to put something on like an angle, but you can manipulate every single part. So every intersection between the lines, you can pull and drag. We'll go back to where it's normal. And then here, if you want an advanced mesh, now you can really just particularly pull those spots away and create fun patterns with your wording. So it's another way to get your words distorted, but still have them perfectly symmetrical in the sense of a text. That way you're not having to worry about your handwriting being too neat, too messy. You can also flip horizontally or vertically, or you can rotate, and you can fit to the screen. Go back and undo that. I don't normally use this one, so I'm not sure what it is, and you can reset everything instead of having to go back and forth. Okay. The next one is the color wheel. So we're coming down to the end now. So we're gonna go and just show you some of the stuff that I use with the color wheel. So typically, I actually have mine on the disc. I have my most used colors here, and I come through the disc and look through all the different shades there. But you can also come to the classic where you can pick what color you want here and then come through and pick your shade. The harmony is, say I pick this color, this blue, it's now going to give me its perfect complementary color over here. So these two colors are their perfect complementary colors, which is actually pretty cool when you're trying to create something a little different. So see how it's constantly giving me that complementary color. I think that's pretty cool. Then it's going to show you all the values. You can change your hue, saturation, your brightness, and all the different colors options there. And then you have your palette option where you can create new palettes or use existing palettes. I have one started here for my stickers, so these are the ones that I constantly use for my stickers. Yeah, so that's a nice little organizational tool for you. Typically I use this because I have my most commonly used untitled one there. Next little tip, it's not necessarily on the Procreate. You can see the options, but if you go here and go to Canvas and you can hit Canvas information, it'll show you all the info about it. DPI, this is what I want to talk about here. So it's dots per inch, okay? If you are printing off your Procreate, you want to have a nice high DPI. And I say that because it means you're going to be less pixelated, which means it'll come out as a clearer picture. It'll come out with 0 issues. I shouldn't say 0. It'll come out with a lot less issues. There's no guaranteeing unless you really, really put the effort into it. So I always make sure I have a nice high DPI when I am printing from my Procreate. And that can be changed with the size of your canvas and all of that fun settings. So you can see how long I've been on this page, how many strokes I made, the size of the file, all the settings. So it shows when I go to, which is going to be my next tip, export the video for this, it'll be 24 seconds. But that's taking 24 seconds from an hour and 20 minutes. So it goes really quickly. That's why I don't typically do this, although it is a pretty cool tip and trick. So that will show us the next one. So we're going to go to the wrench again, but we're going to come over to video. So see how I got time-lapse recording, it's turned on. Now, if I want to use this video or watch it, I can hit the replay and it's going to show me everything I've done on this canvas. So this was actually from a previous video where I was actually just testing out all of the different things I was teaching you, plus then I created a Tumblr decal, and then here it's going into the video from today. So it's a really cool video. You can tell I use the same canvas over and over all the time, considering you saw some decal work in there. But yeah, so then that's one of the last tips. The very last one, it's kind of tagged in with this, is exporting. So you can come back here and you can export your time-lapse video. So you can do full length or just the 30 seconds, which it's only 20 seconds anyway. So you do full length. When you export it, it'll pop up selections. I typically just save it to my save video to my camera roll, and then I'll deal with it from there. If you want to, it says unsuccessful because I didn't actually save it. So say I just wanted to save this and not the video, I go to share, I share as a PNG, and then I hit save image. And then it saves directly into my my photo album. And that's all my tips and tricks today, guys. I really hope those come in handy. I hope they really help you guys out. And let me know in the comments, like I said at the beginning of the video, let me know in the comments if you guys have any other Procreate questions, or let me know if you guys have questions about Cricut Design Space, as I would love to do more videos about that as well. So I hope you guys stay tuned. Hit that subscribe button and you'll get notifications when I post new videos. And like I said, leave comments for me so I know what questions to answer. All right? I hope you guys have an amazing day. Don't forget to check out my Etsy shop and my Instagram and my TikTok. Everything is Simply Written Designs. Love you guys so much. Have a great day.